It's one thing when your father gets himself banned from the Oscars, but it's something else entirely when you support his actions with a tasteless tweet. Between box office bombs and his alleged beef with China, we're not sure if Jaden Smith will ever recover. The importance of critical reviews is an unfortunate truth of the film industry. Even before the age of Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, a critically panned project could easily damage a fledgling star's hopes of making it to the next level, or be used retroactively alongside a string of critical misses to dismiss their credibility. The Pursuit of Happiness did alright critically, though it arguably wouldn't have had much of an impact either way. Jaden was, after all, only 8 years old and made up for what he might have lacked in acting chops by looking like Will Smith's actual child.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me.
For his future in the industry, however, each film following would matter more and more, especially since his father's star shone so bright that Smith's presence in any film would be noticed. At just 9, Smith was cast in The Day the Earth Stood Still. The 2008 remake starred Keanu Reeves, who was also wading through something of a critical slump following The Matrix. Sadly for both Reeves and Smith, the science fiction film drew a harsh response from reviewers, who broadly felt it to be lacking in terms of story and performance. To this day, it is regarded as one of Reeves' worst movies. But even if it wasn't the hit needed to elevate Smith's career at the time, the young actor did manage to get a Saturn Award for Best Performance by a Younger Actor, shockingly beating out Slumdog Millionaire star Dev Patel. If nothing else, The Pursuit of Happiness and The Day the Earth Stood Still were opportunities for Smith to gather some experience as a young supporting actor, before he would be thrown into the deep end with a starring role before the age of 12. Leading up to its eventual release in 2010, parents Will and Jada joined the production team of Columbia Pictures' The Karate Kid, transparently reworking it so that Jaden Smith could use the remake to become a movie star in his own right. Smith was given the role of Dre Parker, a character very loosely based on Ralph Macchio's Daniel LaRusso from the original 1984 film. Unlike the latter, who actually learns the titular Japanese martial art from karate master Mr. Miyagi, Dre learns the Chinese martial art of Kung Fu from Jackie Chan's Mr. Han.
Remember, always strong.
In other words, there is no karate in the remake. Such changes from the original were part of the reason the film received lukewarm reviews, as was its 2-hour-plus runtime. Some critics seemed sold on Smith as a leading man, while others were less convinced. He was often compared to his father, though the comparison was far from unanimously positive. Furthermore, it appears that Smith won't be joining Chan and Macchio in the franchise's next film, which is reportedly set for release in 2025. Despite the fact Smith won a Young Artist Award for his role as Dre, his karate, or rather Kung Fu, journey ended there. Smith's next career move was arguably his most important so far, as it would dictate for the foreseeable future whether he genuinely had the makings of a movie star himself or was simply the lucky son of one. Had this been the feeling at Camp Smith following The Karate Kid, it's hard to imagine a larger misstep than After Earth. Years after the success of The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith decided to once again cast himself and Jaden as father and son, this time in a sci-fi survival thriller. If this weren't already an obvious recipe for career stagnation, Will made the baffling decision to ask M. Night Shyamalan to direct, who was still freshly reeling from the epic backlash that followed his disastrous The Last Airbender adaptation. When it was finally released in 2013, After Earth was critically panned. And Jaden Smith, now older and more familiar to audiences as a leading man, began drawing criticism without qualifiers based on age or experience.
You're wrong!
Though the sci-fi flop regularly kills it on Netflix, Will Smith has since described it as one of his biggest career mistakes, particularly because he feels responsible for putting his son in such a damaging position. The critical and commercial failure of After Earth is heartbreaking in many ways, chief among them that it debatably prevented Jaden from stepping outside his father's shadow as an actor. To the most cynical, casual observer, it seemed that Will had merely tried to force his son into the spotlight with no success. Given how close together The Karate Kid and After Earth were, it seems as though Jaden never had a chance to develop on his own, or take the time needed to find his own place in the acting world. Instead, the Smiths lined up back-to-back big-budget projects that would need to generate several $100 million in box office revenue to justify themselves, much less Jaden Smith's stardom. Because neither reached that level of success, the entire early stage of Jaden's career can seem less like the efforts of an aspiring actor and more like the failed machinations of his father. As time goes on, it looks like the term Nepo baby is here to stay. Jaden never would have been immune to its use, but had his father not been so closely tied to his most high-profile projects, it wouldn't be a term one could use to dismiss them. On the lighter side of things, relating to his career as an actor, Jaden began drawing mixed attention in the late 2010s for his habit of posting bizarre and often hilarious tweets. On X, then known as Twitter, he had become infamous for posting cryptic statements and personal maxims, with each word notably capitalized. Classic posts from this era include, "I don't want you guys to think because I was born in America that I speak and abide by English grammar. I speak Jaden indefinitely." Another banger was, "All of your idols are going to start writing their own articles, and these uninformed journalists will become obsolete."
Right.
While these statements are entirely harmless, if not simple jokes, they've been wrapped into Smith's broader interest in conspiracy theories. In an interview with HuffPost, he opined that a civilization of technologically advanced humans exists on Earth, saying, "The technology that we're currently at is not the maximum of the human capability, and that there are places in the world where their technology supersedes what we see here on a daily basis. It's made by humans, and it should be acknowledged, and it should be looked at because it could heal a lot of problems." The interviewer offered that the places sounded like Wakanda from Black Panther, to which Jaden agreed. He has, at various points, also expressed beliefs in extraterrestrials, the uselessness of traditional education, secret orders like the Illuminati, and government production of chemtrails. Inarguably, the biggest reason why Jaden isn't working more as an actor is that he's diverted his attention to other artistic pursuits, and seen considerable success while doing so. After debuting on Justin Bieber's Never Say Never, he built an impressive career as a musical artist. With help from Will Smith's management company Westbrook Entertainment, he has proved to be a commercially viable musician, and he has worked with industry heavy hitters like J. Cole and Tyler the Creator. Critically, his work is consistently divisive, often focusing on high-concept narratives and genre experimentation. Most reviewers praise his boundless creativity, but also tend to criticize his struggle for musical cohesion. In response to his 2019 effort Iris, The Guardian's Tara Joshi wrote, "At best, it's dreamily creative, at worst, overwrought." In a 4.7 out of 10 review for Pitchfork, Reed Jackson described the same album as, quote, "mostly a slog, the sound of an artist with a blurry vision and too many resources at his disposal."
Ouch.
In 2022, possibly the most memorable and controversial Oscar moment ever came out of nowhere. Will Smith struck comedian Chris Rock after Rock joked about Jada's shaved head. The scene ended in a brief but deeply discomforting back and forth between the two as Smith shouted at him from the audience. Smith went on to win Best Actor that night and later apologized to Rock for the outburst. He was banned from attending Academy events for 10 years. In reaction to the slap, Jaden Smith tweeted, "And that's how we do it," seemingly supporting his father's decision to charge the stage and strike Rock. Though there were some voices online that felt Rock had overstepped by laughing at Pinkett Smith, who had been publicly sharing her journey with a form of alopecia, the general consensus, especially among industry professionals, was that Smith had no right to assault another entertainer over a joke. While likely no one was expecting any of the Smiths to immediately denounce their father or husband, Jaden's approval had the potential to rub powerful industry professionals the wrong way. However you might feel about it, his attitude probably wasn't the most media-savvy move at the time. As we all know by now, Jaden is not one to shy away from sharing his honest opinion on just about anything. This became a somewhat major problem when the actor was accused of disparaging the People's Republic of China. According to the Global Times, allegations began spreading on the Chinese social media app Xiaohongshu in August 2023. They accused Smith of having made derogatory comments about the country to fans while riding on a public train in Tokyo, Japan. His remarks reportedly included the phrase, China. The incident was not recorded, leading some to question the validity of the allegations entirely. It would honestly be pretty surprising to learn that Smith held strong negative opinions about the country as a whole. Given his presence in the region, The Karate Kid was a joint venture between Hollywood and Hong Kong studios, and he has performed at venues in China numerous times.
I don't know. Sure seems fishy.
Curiously enough, however, the allegations preceded Smith, unexpectedly delaying musical performances in China without explanation. Though he didn't address the post on Xiaohongshu, it had gone viral, and negative sentiments toward him from Chinese fans eventually found its way into his Instagram comments, which he quickly turned off. It's worth stressing that Smith has neither confirmed nor denied making the alleged remarks, and may have canceled the show dates for an unrelated personal reason. Even so, the narrative spreading among his large Chinese fan base doesn't seem as charitable. Because of how long Jaden has been in the spotlight, it's incredibly easy to forget one crucial fact. He's only 26 years old as of late 2024. Sure, Will Smith was only 22 years old when he landed The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but if there's anything you should take away from this video, it's that it's fairly useless to compare the two entertainers given how different their circumstances were. As Jaden has articulated himself in past interviews, he and his father essentially experienced inverted career trajectories. Will started his journey as a talented musician, but didn't really start exploring his full potential until he started acting. As of yet, Jaden's beginnings as a fairly decent actor seem to be leading him toward a unique musical identity that's all his own. And with only 3 albums out so far, there's nothing to suggest that he's reached his full potential in this area either. This isn't to say that Jaden has chosen one path definitively over the other. He's taken sizable roles in smaller, less financially risky projects like 2018's Skate Kitchen and 2020's Life in a Year, both of which performed better critically than any of his first 4 films. Just because he's no longer leading $100 million blockbusters doesn't mean he's no longer an actor. In fact, he's arguably found himself in a more promising position than he's ever been in. While he may be one of Will Smith's best co-stars, that prestige is only so meaningful compared to this new journey of discovering his own voice, style, and artistry in his own time.